It's strange how a team can look electric one week and completely drained the next. The Miami Dolphins have been living in that uncomfortable space between brilliance and confusion, floating somewhere that never feels steady enough to breathe. One game, they look like a storm no one can contain. The next, they look like they're trying to remember who they are. It's not about effort. It's about rhythm, about that invisible thread that ties everything together when things are clicking. And lately, that thread feels like it's been stretched thin, ready to snap at the worst possible moment. You start to wonder if this is the version of the Dolphins people warned about. The one that dazzles, then disappears. The one that promises a revolution but ends up fighting itself. It's that feeling when you know something great is inside. You've seen glimpses, but it keeps slipping through the cracks. Every time they line up, there's that spark. And then, somehow, the spark fades before it can light anything up. After that game against Buffalo, everything felt charged. The kind of night that makes you think, this is it. This is who they are. The defense swarmed, the offense danced, the crowd was alive. For a few hours, the Dolphins weren't just a team, they were a statement. But then Sunday came, and everything about that energy vanished. Against a San Francisco team held together by tape and desperation, the Dolphins stumbled. Missed reads, dropped balls, awkward timing. It was all there, like a list of what not to do. The game was winnable, easily winnable, and yet it felt like they were chasing something invisible the whole time. Now they sit at 3-3, which, on paper, doesn't look tragic. But numbers don't tell the story. The truth hides in the spaces between the wins and the losses. The way those 3 defeats came, frustrating, avoidable, haunting, leaves this strange taste that lingers long after the final whistle. You start to ask yourself if this team is actually built for more, or if it's another season of almosts and maybes. And there's something about that question that cuts deep, because every fan, every player, every coach knows what it's like to chase that more. You can feel it. It's right there. But every time you reach out, something slips. A fumble, a penalty, a wrong call, a missed opportunity that feels too familiar. This week, it's the Falcons, a team that mirrors the Dolphins in all the wrong ways. Unpredictable, unstable, capable of brilliance and chaos within the same quarter. It's the kind of matchup that doesn't just test skill, it tests identity. One of these teams will find something, even if only for a moment. The other might lose more than a game. They might lose the thin thread of belief that's holding things together. The Dolphins are walking into this one as that so-called get-right team, the label no one wants. The team others circle on their schedule, thinking, we can fix ourselves against them. That's the insult behind the smile, a quiet jab that stings worse than any loss. And maybe that's exactly what Miami needs, to stop trying to be polished, stop pretending everything's fine, and play angry again. If they pull this off, if they find a way to shut the door on the noise and take down Atlanta, something shifts. It's not about the standings, it's about the pulse. The Dolphins haven't had that mid-season rhythm in a while, the kind that builds from the inside out. Beating the Falcons would put them over .500, not just mathematically, but emotionally. It's about feeling above that invisible line, standing taller than the doubt that's been following them like a shadow. It would mean 3 straight seasons of crossing that mid-year threshold, a sign that, even when they wobble, they can still steady themselves. That's something, even if it's not everything. Because the truth is, this league doesn't wait. You either keep moving or you drown in your own hesitation. A win would clean some of that residue left from San Francisco. That heavy, foggy residue that's been sticking to the team's energy since the first whistle of that mess. It's not just a scoreboard correction, it's a tone reset, especially with what's ahead. A road game against a red-hot New England squad and a matchup in Germany against Indianapolis, who seem to have rediscovered how to suffocate teams. These aren't the kind of weeks where you can fake confidence. You either have it or you don't. There's also the division lurking in the background, waiting to pounce. Tampa Bay keeps finding ways to win ugly, and that's dangerous. If they stumble and Miami climbs, the entire balance changes. Suddenly the Dolphins aren't chasing. They're within striking distance. That's how thin the line is in this league. One Sunday you're a mess. The next, you're a threat. But if they lose, That's where the air gets heavy. Because a 3-4 record doesn't sound catastrophic until you feel it. Until you sit in the locker room afterward, surrounded by that quiet that only losing brings. Until you see that look, the one that says, "We should have had that one." Losing to a team like the Falcons, who have been a mirror of inconsistency themselves, would hit differently. It would cut into the psyche in ways that don't show up on stats. It's one thing to lose to a powerhouse. It's another to lose to chaos. That's when you start doubting the little things, the play calls, the trust, the rhythm that was supposed to be natural by now. That's when you start feeling the weight of the past 7 seasons pressing down again. Because this isn't a rebuild anymore. This is supposed to be the arrival. The Dolphins are built to win now, not someday. Every delay feels like betrayal. And every loss that looks like it didn't have to happen makes the future look a little more fragile. If Tampa wins and Miami doesn't, the division gap stretches. 2 games back, no tiebreaker, and the road suddenly looks longer. And forget the wild card. The AFC is stacked with teams clawing for position, none of them waiting for Miami to get it together. The margin for error disappears faster than you think. Playoff math always feels cruel. You look at the percentages. 39% if things hold steady. Drop another 1, and that number dips into the 20s. 28 maybe. You can feel that number even if you never see it. It's the shift in the locker room. The way conversations get shorter. The silence between questions gets longer. You don't need a statistic to tell you when belief starts fading. You can hear it. This is where the season starts to shape itself. Not because of the record, but because of what's underneath it. The belief, the energy, the fight that either ignites or folds. Miami's been on this edge before. Too many times, maybe. Every time, there's a moment. A turning point that looks small at first, then becomes the thing people point back to months later. Maybe this week is that moment. Maybe it's not. But it's coming. And you can feel that quiet urgency building. The kind that doesn't need to be shouted about. The kind that shows up in how they move. How they react when things start to slip. Because they will slip. Every game does at some point. The question is, what happens after? Can they shake off the ghosts of those wasted chances? Can they stop being the team that almost gets it right? There's a restlessness to this group that makes you believe they can. You see it in flashes, the precision, the speed, the confidence. It's all there, waiting for someone to unlock it and keep it open long enough for it to matter. It's strange, though, how hope works in football. It doesn't come in speeches or headlines. It comes in drives that don't stall, in stops on 3rd down, in a tackle that doesn't miss. It's built quietly, then erupts all at once. The Dolphins have flirted with that eruption for weeks now. It's time they stop flirting and let it happen. Because there's a version of this team that terrifies opponents. The one that plays fast, fearless, almost arrogant in the best way. That version hasn't disappeared. It's just been waiting under the noise. One win can bring it back to the surface. And if that happens, if the Dolphins wake up and remember what they are, everything changes. The record, the narrative, the way people talk about them, all of it flips. That's the thing about a team like this. You never know when the spark catches. But when it does, it's undeniable. Maybe that's why, despite the frustration, people still watch with that same tightness in their chest, because they know what it could look like if everything finally aligns. Maybe this week is where it starts. Maybe this is where the Dolphins stop being a question and start being the answer no one saw coming. Or maybe it's another stumble, another story about potential left hanging. Either way, it's coming. The noise, the chaos, the flash, the silence after. It's all part of it. And somewhere in there, the Dolphins will decide who they really are.